So for me, coming in as the first sales hire, when I came in, Dylan was like, hey, spend a month in the support queue. So I'm feeling all of this pressure to come and build out the sales team and bolster the revenue arm of the business. And I'm like ready to go, ready to like hit the ground running. He's like, go spend a month in the support queue. It was like, whoa, of course. This is a great way to learn a very complex product of which I could barely scratch the surface. So I ended up spending a month in the support queue, and I learned a ton about the product, the gaps in the product and the feature requests from a lot of our customers. I learned a ton about like wonky billing flows that ended up being really impactful. I also built really strong relationships with the support team. And so that allowed me to pave the route of building even stronger relationships with engineering, product, and design, because they could see how devoted and dedicated I was. I didn't do anything sales related. I was just like trying to do tickets and bug bashes and all of these things, poorly, might I add, but like I was learning a ton, and people could tell that I was dedicated and willing to roll up my sleeve. There was zero process. There was nothing. And so you could just lock yourself in a room and create process docs and kind of stay away from the fire, which is spending time with customers. And we did a lot of that early on, but I made sure that it was somewhat time bound, because you can make all the process and build all these different journey paths that you want. But at the end of the day, our North Star was understanding where the customers were, understanding what we could do to formalize the structure around getting them to pay for this tier, but also that they were happy and that they knew that there was a product feedback loop. The biggest thing I'll always be grateful for is Dylan giving me a lot of trust, because one of the superpowers of Figma is the community around it. And I'll be honest, I was a little leery coming in that the suits were here, the salespeople were here, design, both internally and product and engineering, were going to be like, oh no, sales. Instead of it being that experience, I think they embraced that, hey, Dylan found a leader who really cared about building the right type of sales team and the right type of sales culture for our business, for our community, for our customers. So I put a lot of weight into that. And so when we brought people in, on the extreme side, Dylan thought every salesperson should be a designer. I don't think that was realistic. And so then, in board meetings early on, we talk about like the Venn diagram of people that have the relevant sales experience and people that have relevant knowledge of UI, UX design. There's not a lot of overlap there that I saw in the marketplace. And what few people were there, we probably interviewed and hired them. So I think early on, making sure that people were curious enough to engage with the product. And then it comes down to like the grit and putting in the work. Would they sit and watch YouTube videos? There's no shortage of content out there in Figma if anyone's ever used it. So even in the earliest days of 2018, if you were willing to sit down and put 6 hours of work into it, you could figure out how to make a basic prototype. There's some depth to Figma that requires sitting down and putting in the work. And so early on, it was sitting with me, our Chief Customer Officer, Amanda, and our CEO, Dylan, and presenting. All of the sales reps that were hired in that first year had to present to Dylan on the product that he built and the company he founded. So that was a lot of pressure. It's near impossible to set the right quota early on in your business. Yeah. It's just tough. So what we agreed to was that we want to be aggressive. We want to build a culture of success, because when people are having success and doing well and enjoying the work environment and the team and all those things, they're going to refer their friend and you help grow the team faster. And that sure was true for us. But we were able to establish that, hey, we're going to come out and set quotas. And if we're grossly off in terms of we make some assumptions that don't play out or whatever, we reserve the right to make reps whole. And then there's on the other case of like most teams are able to hedge against being too conservative, but we did have some individual contributors who had really high grossing numbers in terms of their attainment. Yeah. But those were usually outliers, even if everyone kind of hit their goal and hit quota, et cetera. You were happy to pay those people. They were charting a path of what the possible looked like. And they would help enabling the rest of your team on how they were doing it. Was it work ethic? Was it product knowledge? Was it efficiency in terms of like how they manage their day-to-day? So you need to find people that are A, interested in the wider scope of work, and then B, can do really well at context switching. For better or worse, sometimes I wish I wasn't always context switching, but I think something that I got experience in the Dropbox and I would say grew my skill set with Figma was like context switching, just constantly. It's exhausting. It takes a toll on you. Yeah. Able to shift gears from talking to Google and building an HR framework for your salespeople to get promoted and further their careers and understand where they stand in the organization, et cetera, et cetera.